All right, boys and girls, welcome to day 2 of section 5.3, cubic functions. Okay, so for today's second part, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be writing equations from cubic functions. Okay, so generally the rule is you will always be given the function along with its graph. Okay, so you need a couple things. So of course, this is just the general function. Okay, so in order for you to come up with a rule, you need a couple values. You need your A, your H, and your K. Okay, and believe it or not, you can actually get your H and your K from your graph. So here they have 3 points, and of course, this is your vertex right here, 2, 1. So if 2, 1 is your vertex, remember, you should be able to identify your H and your K value. Okay, so that means your H is 2 and your K is 1. All right, awesome. So you already have the majority. Notice what you don't have is A, so you're actually going to solve for A. So take these two values and let's substitute them in here. So ready? You have g of x equals A times the quantity of x minus 2 cubed plus 1. Okay, so now you're wondering, wait, we have 3 unknowns. We have g of x, A, and x. Well, actually, that's not true. What you're going to do is you're going to use a reference point from your graph, okay, to get to plug in your g of x and your x. Okay, so now let me show you. Okay, so now referring to the graph, you have 2 other points, but you're actually going to go from right to left. Okay, and you're going to use the very first point that comes across. So you have 3, 4, and this is going to be your reference point. What that means is 3 will be your x value and 4 will be your y value. Okay, so remember, g of x, that's the same as your y. So now we're going to substitute. Okay, I'm going to use a black pen just to show you the difference. So instead of g of x, remember, we're going to substitute our y value, which is 4. We still don't know what a is. Instead of x, I'm going to substitute my 3. And then everything else gets written the same. So now when you plug that in, the only unknown you should have is A. And that's what we're going to solve for, okay? You can totally do this without a calculator. You just follow order of operations. So first we do what's inside the parentheses. So 3 minus 2, that's 1. 1 cubed is still 1. So this is A. A plus 1. And this is 4. We're trying to solve for A, so I'm going to subtract 1 to both sides, and subtracting 1 will give me 3. So 3 equals A. Okay. Once you solve that, then I have all my values that I need. So now all I need to do is come up with an equation. So my equation would be g of x equals 3 times the quantity of x minus 2 cubed plus 1. And this is my rule that I need. Okay. And that's it. So you didn't have to graph because the graph was given. You didn't have to find H and K. The only thing, I apologize, I have my window open. The only thing you had to do is solve for 3. And then once you have all these values, just plug it in and come up with an equation. Simple as that, guys. All right, awesome. I'm going to go ahead and do one more with you. Okay, so if you turn the page, we're going to do B. And again, the graph is given, so we're going to solve for A, H, and K. So I highlighted the 2 points we're going to use, and right off the bat, we know that our H is negative 4. I'm going to use black so it could stand out, okay? Our K is 1. Our reference point is negative 3.5 and 2. Okay, so first I write the equation using these 2 points. So g of x equals A times the quantity of x. See how it's minus h, and my h is already negative, so that's going to be plus 4 cubed plus 1. And I usually do this step just so that I don't mess anything up. And now I'm going to take these values and plug them in from my reference point. So g of x is the same as my y value. So that's 2 times a. My x is negative 3.5 plus 4 cube plus 1. Okay, so you should only have one unknown, which is a. And now all we have to do is solve for a. Okay, here we go. If you don't know how to add or subtract decimals, then I suggest maybe you use a calculator, okay? But negative 3.5 plus 4, that'll just give me 0.5 cube. 0.5 cube is the same as 1/2. And if I cube 1/2, that's the same as saying 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2. Okay, which is the same as 1/8. And I think if you don't use a calculator for this, you can come up with the decimal. So I'm just going to show you. It's up to you if you want to do a decimal or if you want to do a fraction. But 0.5 to the third power gives you 0.125. Oops, sorry. And I don't like working with decimals, so I rather convert to a fraction. So watch. You already know that that 0.5 is the same as 1/2. And so 1/2 to the power 3 will give me 1/8. Okay. So I'm going to work with 1/8. Okay. So all I did here was just rewrite this. Okay. That's all I did. Okay. So let's see. So again, instead of having 0.5, I changed that to 1/2, and 1/2 to the power 3 is 1/8. So now I just have to solve for 8. So always subtract 1 first. So I'm going to subtract 1. You got to do order of operations, but kind of backwards. So now I have 1 equals a times 1/8. Hold on. And then give me a second. Okay, sorry about that. So 2 minus 1 will give you 1, and then a times 1/8. To get rid of this fraction, I don't divide by 1/8, because you guys, the rules in dividing fractions is you don't divide by a fraction, okay? You multiply by the reciprocal, okay? That's a multiplication rule. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides by 8. And the fraction and the whole number will cancel each other out. So then you'll end up with 8 equals 8. Okay. So now that I found my a value, again, you have everything that you need. It's just a matter of you giving me the function. So here we go. So my function should be g of x equals 8 times the quantity of x plus 4 cubed plus 1. And that's it. So just box or circle your answers. Okay? Awesome. All right, guys, I apologize. There's all sorts of background noises right now. I guess I picked the right time to do this. But do me a favor, pause the video right now. And can you try number 5 on your own? And then come back and check your answers. All right, boys and girls, if you did it correctly, your a value should be 3, your h is -2, and your k is -2. So when you plug in your function, you should end up with g of x equals 3 times the quantity of x plus 2 cubed minus 2. And of course, there's my work, so you can check it, compare it to yours. All right, awesome. If you got it correct, then move on to 6. If you got it wrong, please look over your work and see if you can figure out why you got it wrong. And if you can't, jump back in the meeting with me and let me help you out. Okay. All right. If you're good, pause it and try 6 on your own, and then come back and check your solutions. All right, boys and girls. For number 6, you should have gotten a equals -1/64. And then your function should be g of x equals -1/64 times the quantity of x minus 1 cubed minus 1. Okay. All All right, so at this point, I'm going to ask you same thing. If you got it correct, move forward. If you got it wrong, come back in the chat and let me help you figure out why, or you can kind of look at your work and compare it to mine and see if you can figure out what you did wrong. Okay? You should be able to do your work, except I'm going to do one from the classwork. So grab your classwork or look at your classwork. And boys and girls, I want you to make sure you're taking notes while you're doing this. When I graded the last quiz, I can tell a lot of you either are not watching the videos or you're not taking notes. Okay? So let me show you what you're going to move on to. This is actually your homework assignment. The first page is quadratics. The second page is actually cubic. So I'm going to do a quadratic with you, and I'm going to do number 1 with you. Again, it says quadratic, okay? And your quadratic function basically looks the same if you recall. So it could be, by the way, it could be f of x, y, g of x. That doesn't matter because it's all the same. F of x equals a times the quantity of x minus h squared plus k, okay? So the difference between quadratic and cubic is just the square or the cube, okay? So there's that. And then we're going to do number 1 together. So believe it or not, this is exactly like what you just did. It's just the only difference is they don't give you a graph. They give you a table. But okay, so a couple things. So this is your function. Remember, you have to have this memorized, which is very, very similar to cubic. Okay, so you've done that before. And there's 2 things you're going to pick out right away. Vertex and point. Okay, your reference point. So just by looking at number 1, you should already know what your vertex is. If you recall, we have 5 values, and your values here are symmetrical. Your vertex should be the one right in the middle. So your vertex is going to be -3, 10. So that's your h and your k, okay? So remember, we do the same thing. We're just missing the a, so we're going to solve for a. So you're going to write it as y equals a times x. Again, it's negative, so when I plug it in here, it should be +3 squared plus 10. All right, now we need a reference point. So we have 4 to choose from, right? You just pick one. Doesn't matter which one. I tried to go with the smaller numbers, but these are pretty similar, so just pick another one. Again, it doesn't matter, okay? I'm going to just go ahead and pick this one as my reference point. Okay. Now substitute your values in here, okay? So now instead of y, we're going to put in -6. A instead of x, -1 plus 3 squared plus 10. Okay? And again, you should just solve for a. So order of operations, -1 plus 3 gives me, oops, I don't know why I put that equal sign. Okay, so -1 plus 3 gives me 2 squared plus 10. 2 squared is 4, so this is the same as having 4a. Okay, plus 10 and -6. And then to isolate a, we're going to subtract 10 to both sides, which gives me -16 equals 4a. And then to isolate a, divide by 4 to both sides. So that'll give me -4 equals a. Okay. And once I have my a, my h, and my k, then I have everything that I need to write my function. Okay. So just find space and write it somewhere. So I'll just do it right here on the side. So my function, again, you can use f of x, g of x, y, whatever you want. Okay, so I'm going to just stick to f of x. F of x equals -4 times the quantity of x plus 3 squared plus 10. Okay, and then just box it because that's your final answer. All right, awesome. You should have enough to finish the rest on your own. So remember, pay attention to the directions, pay attention to your functions. So front page, front and back is quadratic, okay? Second page, front and back, well, actually this only has a front side, is cubic, okay? And boys and girls, if you have any questions, please jump back in the meeting, come to my tutoring, or go to the other tutoring that's available. Okay. And also use your book as a reference. Okay. All right, guys, you have enough. Go ahead and start your homework.